Assalamualaikum and hello. I am Norida Adila from Group 11. I'm going to present about production of tomato sauce. Ketchup, or widely referred to as tomato sauce, is very popular among Asian countries or other countries such as Europe. Poland become the third largest consumption of ketchup, followed by the Germany and Great Britain. The ketchup is a vegetable sauce that made from the tomato paste, sucrose, salt, and addition of different spices. In this slide, you can see the plant information of production tomato sauce. There are several factors that must be considered in planning a factory building. Here are some factors. First, nature of manufacturing process, plant layout, space requirement, material handling, plant protection, lighting, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, service facilities, accessibility, future expansion, fire protection, environmental protection, effluent disposal, air supply, and so on. The nature of manufacturing process should include the floor load, head space, and base size that depend on the type of equipment or machine that will be used in the production line. The plant layout should be complete to set the machine, service center, and office exercises all around the plant. The space requirements such as flow and storage of material, location of the equipment and machine, and movement of employee must be specific to make sure there is no cross-contamination in the production line. The heating, ventilation, and air conditioning are required to maintain the temperature and humidity of the plant. Based on the figure 1, we can see that the location of region food industry Sendian Berhad. The good water and power sources has been provided to make sure there is no problem in the production line of industry. Therefore, this industry area is suitable for our production work. Next, the material handling include the conveying, elevating, positioning, transporting, packaging, and storing the material, parts, assemblies, and the product. Material handling actually involve all the stages, which is from the start until the product is finished. Then the product is commercialized to the market. In this slide, we can see how the tomato sauce are being produced. The production of tomato sauce start with the picking process. Basically, the tomato sauce are produced by picking the mature red and red tomatoes. Harvesting actually must be carried out during the early morning and dry weather and cool temperature to make sure the nutritional value can be maintained and to prevent the fruit become decay. The worker actually must pick the tomato with clean hands and wearing the gloves so that we can minimize the damage of fruit. The container we use must have a smooth inner wall, wide, shallow, and stackable, and the weight cannot exceed 10 kg because it can cause the compression injury on the fruit. After picking process, the raw material are transported to the factory. To maintain the nutritional value of the fruit, the tomato are transported under specific temperature and relative humidity. This is because the tomato will undergo respiration at high temperature and it will shorten the shelf life of the tomatoes. The cardboard box, plastic crate, and bark bins are actually often used for transporting the tomatoes or other materials to the factory. Forklift truck are used during receiving the raw material. Forklift is a tool that used to carry, move, pull, and lift the large material load. So the movement of the material, the raw material, can be become more efficient because it can reduce the time. Next, washing, rinsing, drying, and sorting process. This processing line consists of water tank, spray, roller elevator, and inspection table, brushes, a blower, size sorting machine, to undergo washing, rinsing, drying, and sorting process on the tomatoes. The equipment actually reduce the surface injury on the tomatoes. Washing the process can be done quickly. During washing, both detergent and chlorine were added into the water. This is because to reduce the fly, egg, and maggots on the tomato surface. Sorting and grading stages are really important to maintain and give the good quality of the product. So the tomato are sorted based on its size and maturity. This production line actually give many benefit which reduce the cost and time, and it enhance the product quality of the tomato sauce. Based on this slide, we can see two figure. These two figure show the processing line of the tomato, of the washing, rinsing, uh, drying, and sorting process.
3.4 is crushing process. During the crushing process, the tomatoes that are already washed will be compressed by using the foot crusher. This process is involved conveyor system to transport the materials from one stage to another. The belt conveyor is very important in tomato sauce production because it will help to produce the products more efficiently. These are the figures of modular elevator transports the tomatoes into fruit crusher and hammer mincing mill. 3.5 is packaging and filling process. This process initiated by the automatic scramblers allow the operator to manage, separate and stabilize each container before presented to the conveyor system. After that, the empty container will be deposited through elevator lifts into the turntable. Then, the tooling channel works to make sure this container in a proper position. As the bottle exits the conveyor, the tomato sauce fills into the bottle at specific volume. The finished products will be pasteurized and cooling. This figure shows the machines used during the packaging process. 3.6 is storage. Cartons will be stored at ambient temperature and dry places. The walkie stacker is used to move the pallets in short distance. The device can transport and store the tomato sauce in storage room. Drive-in or drive-through rack is the most suitable for food storage because it can store the finished products up to 75% more pallets than pallet racks and store more loads. 4.0 is HACCP. HACCP is the systematic approach with the purpose to determine the hazards related to food, to identify critical control points, and to put them under control. The HACCP is a part of the food safety management system recognized by international food safety community as the global guideline. 4.1 is raw materials. This process started by harvesting the fresh tomatoes. After harvesting, the tomatoes are pre-cooling on the farm to prolong their shelf life. The critical point in raw materials are the pesticide residues. The pesticide residue can be detected by using gas chromatography or HPLC. 4.2 is washing and sorting. The tomatoes are sorted by their ripening and color. The tomatoes selected should be good quality, fully ripe and red in color without any infection. The critical point here is to remove the green, overripe, rotten, injured and defective tomatoes. While washing, the water source will determine whether the tomatoes are contaminated or not. Due to that, chlorine is commonly used as antimicrobial agent. 4.3 is blanching, peeling and crushing. In blanching, the tomatoes are blanched in hot water for 3 to 5 minutes until the skin are loosened. Then it is placed into cold water to cool it down. The purpose of blanching in hot water is to reduce the amount of microorganisms.
Hi, my name is Srina and I'm gonna continue the presentation on the topic of hazard in the cooking process. The cooking process is known as the critical point since microbiological hazards are possible and microorganism growth is possible in the event of an insufficient thermal process. To help maintain and improve shelf life, certain chemical preservatives such as sodium benzoate may also be added to the sauce. In this process, the critical control point is heating. The temperature must maintain between 100 degrees Celsius 205 degrees Celsius for 90 minutes to eliminate or reduce the vegetative cells of pathogen to an acceptable level. The sauce are brought to a boil. The temperature is held for 1 to 2 hours to avoid recurrence, but the sauce is discarded and removed if the sauce is unable to recook. Apart from that, acidification is the critical point in the cooking process. The pH of the final product must stay between pH 3 and 4, hence adding the vinegar at the end of the cooking. Also, the pH value will be determined using the pH meter before the sauces are applied to the pots. In addition, to avoid the use of iron devices during manufacturing, iron can form black compounds with the tannin of the tomatoes or the spice uses. Filling and sealing. In this stage, the critical point is defined as microbiological hazards. Until filling, the bottle will be tested for cracks and chips, and the damaged bottle will be removed. The bottle will be tested via a cold water vacuum test, and the bottle will be discarded if physical defect is found. The sauces will then be hot in a clean, sterilized 80 degrees Celsius container. Improper sealing may lead to recontamination, therefore the bottle cap should be properly sealed and tested. The bottle with the fault seal on the lid shall be rejected. Next stage is pasteurization. The time and temperature of pasteurization are critical for the proper shelf life as well as for the cleaning and disinfection of the equipment. Pasteurization is a crucial point since the product is contained in glass bottle. Certain pathogens and vegetative and spore-forming bacteria such as bacillus may live and reproduce in the finished product container, which can pose a high risk to public health. Which is why the tomato sauce is cooked in an autoclave at 88 degrees Celsius until 90 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. The goals of heat treatment is to reduce the risk to public health arising from pathogenic microorganisms associated with low-acid food. Lastly is storage. For storage, the bottles will be placed in a cool dry spot away from direct sunlight. The bottle is stored in a horizontal or inverted position in order to disperse the trapped air in the container. Thus, the concentration in the nut will be decreased enough to prevent blackening. For the pest control, pests such as cockroaches, rodents, ticks and fleas, and mosquitoes may cause significant damage to human health and serious threats without proper management techniques. A pesticidal use alone may make pesticide resistant to pests, which contribute to other pest outbreaks and can cause surface and non-target animals to be harmed. Therefore, it needs to be screened every year by trapping the scalps, butterflies, insect-like animals, and vertebrate pests. Cultural practices are also used to reduce the amount of pesticide that damage crops. Sanitation practices may help prevent and suppress these pests by removing pests or their sources of food and shelter. Tomato solid waste based on fruit can be divided into two groups, which are culled tomatoes that are not approved for processing and tomato pomace, which is the residue of tomato juice, puree sauce, ketchup, and tomato paste production. For the waste management, wet waste is disposed of by international manufacturers and under contract with necessary legal permits and licenses, much like tomato pomace. Next is waste recycling and soil quality enhancements in agriculture field is agriculture land application and food waste treatment. Surplus wash water and condensate is used for cropland adjacent to the plant or dispatched in municipal treatment plants for disposal. This brings me to the end of my presentation. To summarize my main points, tomato fruits are a perishable commodity. The consistency of tomato sauce must be maintained by extra caution. Precautionary steps from factory planning should be taken. And that's all from us, Group 11. Presentation on topic the production of tomato sauce. Thank you.